Hello friends, we are in the 12th week of our course on literature and life. We have with us Dr. P. Senthil Kumaran from DG Vaishnav College, Chennai. He is an assistant professor of English working there and he has some 14 years of teaching experience. His PhD was on a very interesting topic which I like very much, about positivity. The exact topic is the element of hope in the select novels of Gita Hariharan. Anyone interested in Gita Hariharan or the elements of hope in literature, I would strongly encourage you to look at his writings. Now, we will welcome him to our course and start our discussion. Welcome Dr. P. Senthil Kumaran.
Thank you for inviting me for this NPTEL program and giving me this wonderful opportunity of sharing my thoughts with the students, the young minds of the future world. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Now let's begin with our topic. One of the topics that we have in our course is prose, essays. So let's begin with this basic question. What do you think is an essay for you?
Essay is a genre which gives the freedom for the writer to go on with his own, that is, it gives the writer the freedom of expressing his thought and feeling without any barriers. He need not think about forming a particular idea into a stanza or rhyme. He doesn't need to follow any rhyme scheme in his writing. It allows the reader to choose his own way of writing, and also it makes the reader to interpret easily. That is what I think the advantage of prose.
You mean to say that prose is easily accessible, intelligible to the reader?
Comparatively to poetry, prose is easily understandable. It will be like in a common man's language. So it is easy for anyone to read and understand and appreciate the art of literature.
All right. There are many forms of literature. Why do you like to teach prose specially?
As I told you in the earlier part of our discussion, that students can relate themselves very well with the situations that are presented in the prose, because the language which is presented in the prose is so simple, and also the writers normally share their own experience in the life, which the reader can very well experience the same through their writing. And students can also, most of the time when they read the experience of the person, it will help them to enhance their understanding of the language, and also it will further them to move and understand their own life, and also they can travel from known to unknown. I personally feel like few things they relate, so from there I can take them to whatever can be understood by them by reading the text.
Let's move to the next question.
Yes.
How do you teach the prose essays that you have in your classroom?
I introduce a few memorable quotations from the text. For example, I brainstorm the students with the quotations like child is the first scientist, can you give your opinion on that, or else grown-ups tend to see more impossibilities, or angry athlete is an athlete who will make mistake. Most of us take life for granted. I used to give whatever the lesson I am planning to take, I will give a kind of the essence that can be condensed in a particular line to the student and ask them to brainstorm. So they will come up with a lot of explanations and interpretations. So after having a fruitful discussion, I tell them that this is what the topic that we are going to see. And then they will also be motivated, since they have already discussed the particular idea. So from there, taking them to into the prose is quite easy for me, and they also feel energized. They also feel that yes, they are going to learn something new and also something motivating for them.
Using a quotation from that particular piece of writing is a kind of warm-up exercise for the students.
Exactly, sir.
To get the students involved in your
exactly. So instead of going and introducing the topic or writing the title on the board, just to introduce the title and ask them what is your opinion. Can you speak something about it? And I will collect the idea, and then mostly the author would have By chance, he would have also dealt with the same ideas. So, from that they will also feel like, yes, I am also able to think in the line of the author, and I can also, sometimes they also feel that, yes, I can also write. So, to that level they will be motivated.
So, you feel that you should enable your students get an idea that they can also do something on their own.
Yeah, that is the final motive of for the entire the English classroom, that they need to speak and write. They should be motivated to speak and write.
So, you give them the confidence.
Yes, yes, sir.
Good. When you teach your prose pieces in the classroom, what are the different kinds of questions that students ask you?
Generally, students, if they find any difficult word to understand, they ask me. And sometimes if they find any historical details are given there, for example, from the prose, my greatest Olympic prize, when we are telling them about Hitler, they may ask us who is Hitler, and what is the Aryan supremacy theory, and what happened in the World War II, and how it has started. Like that, they may come up with series of questions. I think this is what the greatest thing about the literature, that it communicates the history and it imparts the language, at the same time it entertains the readers. So, I think this is what the unique blend of things in the literature.
We have some concept called prose for pleasure and profit. So, I think you are able to merge both pleasure and profit
exactly,
in your activities in the classroom.
Exactly, sir.
Like the students, do you also ask some questions in the classroom?
Yes, sir. Primarily, I will ask them what kind of narrative technique is followed in the prose piece, whether it's a descriptive or it is argumentative style. So, I normally ask them to ponder over what is the style that is adopted by the writer, and then I will ask them to find out what kind of argument, how the writer is building the argument, how he has introduced something, how he has explained something, how he has given anecdote or his own experiences to drive his point or his main idea into his writing. I ask them to scan the elements that help the author to convey his central message.
Okay. So, that means you are preparing the students to understand different kinds of style, like descriptive or argumentative
Exactly,
or narrative. Sir. How do you do that? Any specific way of helping them to understand this is a narrative passage, this is a descriptive passage, this is an argumentative passage?
For example, if a passage is going to keep describing on something, okay, so I tell them that this is the descriptive style, or if they are narrating the incident, thereby motivating. For example, this my greatest Olympic prize is the narrative style, okay, by Jesse Owens. So, I tell them this is the narrative style, and if you want to share some of your experience to someone, this is the style that you need to adopt. So, this is how I make them to understand what are the different kinds of writing style that is available if they like to try with writing.
Okay. Glad to know that you are equipping your students with some knowledge of understanding different kinds of prose pieces. Have you developed some strategies to teach prose pieces in your classroom in these past several years, more than a decade of teaching experience?
Yes, sir. I ask my students to concentrate on the core of the writing, that is coherence and cohesion. I tell them what is cohesion and coherence, and I tell them that when you are writing, each point should have connection to the main idea of what you would like to convey, and there shouldn't be even a one point which is not adhering to the main idea.
Irrelevant points should be removed.
Yes, exactly. So, irrelevant points should not be there in any part of, because few have the habit of, in the name of widening or expanding the idea, they add up the phrases and sentences unnecessarily. So, that is not necessary. So, brevity is the soul of writing. So, I tell them that, and then after teaching, I make them to write some short stories or else a write up, and then I make them to sit as a group, and I ask them to do peer evaluation also.
That's very interesting.
Yes, sir. I ask them to do peer evaluation, so that when their friends give the feedback, that will be more, I personally feel, instead of teacher, when you hear from your own friend, it will be comfortable for you, because you feel that, yes, one of my classmates is, or one of my friends is telling this comment to me, so I should enhance, I should change. If a teacher points out, sometimes he may feel offended, but when your your own classmate, when your own friend tells that, okay, you get motivated. And also when they sit as a group and discuss, he will get to know how the other person has written the prose piece and what can be taken the best thing from others writing. So in this way, I think this peer group discussion will help the students a lot.
This is more of a give and take.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
give something to your friend and you take
Yeah,
something
whatever
for
is
your-
best available, we can take it.
Can you tell us about some of the essays that you frequently discuss in your classrooms?
I normally give us a role model written by APJ Abdul Kalam, and my greatest Olympic prize written by Jesse Owens, and also 3 days to see written by Helen Keller. So these are all the prose pieces, my favorite prose pieces that I deal with every semester.
Every semester?
Every semester.
Good. When you teach prose pieces, how do your students respond to you in the classroom? How do they receive your prose teaching?
Personally, I am a person, as my thesis also says, that I am a positive person, and I always try to encourage students, because if you are going to concentrate only on the language, they will not look up for you. So what I do is I keep encouraging them, motivating them, and whenever I get a chance, for example, this greatest Olympic prize, I can tell about what is the real friendship. Okay, you should not develop a grudge against other person, even if he is a competitor. For example, Helen Keller, that is 3 days to see. When I take that test, I tell them that when a person with a disability can aspire to reach a particular level, what are we going to do with all the senses properly fit in us? So and also give us a role model. I used to ask them, who is a role model, why you like the person, and few people say that I don't have a role model. So I ask them to find out the role model, so that you should know at least some qualities you should develop in you, and also what is the place that you should reach as your destination. So these are the things I normally pose a question to them, and then I discuss. The primary thing is I keep on motivating the students, so that even when we enter the class, they will be looking up for your discussion.
Excellent. You have 3 writers. One is a scientist or president, another is a sports person.
Yes, sir.
One more is a public intellectual, you can say.
Yes, sir.
Or a celebrity, you can say.
Yes, sir.
So from these 3 essays, you are able to give some qualities
Yes, sir.
of leadership to your students.
Yes, yes.
Good. Whatever activity we do, we should gain something out of it. What do you think your students learn from this kind of prose teaching?
One is when they listen to the story of others. For example, Jesse Owens or Helen Keller, they think that we can also reach the heights. And also what are all the things that we should develop, and also what are the things that we should leave if you want to progress in your life. And also when we read Give Us a Role Model, that is written by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he says so many things, how to take the role model, and there he says that teacher should be your role model, first role model, and then your parent should be the second one. And also when coming to 3 days to see, Helen Keller says that when I get my eyesight for only 3 days, the first person I would like to see is my teacher. So in this present world where some people think that technology can replace a teacher, and also few think that or in films and all teachers are ridiculed, I feel that this is the moral that we need to inculcate in the students, that they need to look up for the teacher, and they can take the best quality from the teacher, and the teacher should be respected by the students.
So you, through your teaching of prose, you ensure that the students really understand the value of a teacher.
Yes, sir. Value of the teacher, value of the life, and also value of their effort. Sometimes they try once or twice, and after that they withdraw. But see the example of Helen Keller. She kept trying, and even without few senses, she was able to learn. So if she can do that, why can't you people do? So that is, if I pose the question, they really get charged, and when I move out of the class, few people run towards me, and then they say that class was wonderful and we were motivated by your speech. So finally, as a teacher, that is what I should do, I think.
Never give up.
Never give up attitude.
Okay,
Exactly.
great. You are able to teach your students about this never give up attitude. What have you personally gained from teaching of prose or literature in general?
The sense of satisfaction when I see my students growing up, winning medals and winning some prizes in the literary competitions or whatever competition they participate, I will be the first person to pat their shoulder and tell that all the best and also congrats. So, this is what kind of the happiness we derive from the achievement of students gives me the greatest sense of satisfaction of my profession.
Okay, that's great. That's from teaching in general, especially in teaching of prose. Anything that you have gained as a teacher personally?
Personally, when we deal with that is prose piece, we gain vocabulary and also different style of our language will also get improved, and we get to know about the different vocabulary. And also when I motivate a person, first I should be motivated.
Okay.
In that way, I will also be positive, and to be frank that this is what made me to look into the positive psychology.
Oh, I see.
And I took it as my thesis and I finished my doctorate.
Oh, that's a great benefit for you, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You, from your teaching, got this idea of positivity and then went to a research topic,
Yes,
which actually gives you a sense of satisfaction that you have done your PhD on the idea of positivity. Or
Yes, sir. And whatever the theory I learned there, I take that to the class also.
Oh.
I share them how you need to sustain even the life is not giving you anything. So, how to withstand, that also I teach.
That's wonderful actually. You take something from the classroom to your research level,
Research,
and then from your research level you are bringing back something to the classroom.
Exactly.
That's wonderful.
Exactly, sir.
Certainly you have grown that way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
We may teach prose, poetry, drama, novel, short stories, and anything and everything, fine. But we have a duty as a teacher to prepare our students for writing their examination answers. How do you help your students to write any kind of answer in their examinations?
I am basically a person who will not concentrate only for the examination. I try to develop their critical thinking, and not only the text which is prescribed, I encourage them to read more so that their knowledge will be widened and also their critical thinking will be enhanced, so that whatever the question, even not only for the examination, whatever the question, whether it's an interview question or else questions asked in the examination, they will be ready to face. And I told you I conduct a peer evaluation. There also when the people give feedback, they learn how to write. So, in that activity also help them to write the examination well. So, it is indirect way of preparing them for their examination.
So, we can say that your students are not afraid of taking the exam.
Surely, sir. They won't be
great.
afraid.
That's great. I ask you this because some of our students may like to know how we have to prepare ourselves for writing the examinations about a prose piece.
They need to generally have the idea in the mind what the author is speaking about, and then the critical view on that. We should have our own opinion. That is more important. Just learning the author's point of view will not suffice. First, we need to develop kind of critical thinking, and in other words, the critical evaluation of the text, so that whatever the question can come up from the text, you will be in a position to answer.
Good. Actually, that's what we want our students to do. Read the text, original text first, form your own opinion, and write your own reflection on that.
Exactly, sir.
Okay. Now we have a very important question. We teach literature, all right. Now, what can we learn from literature, especially prose pieces, to live our life meaningfully? And that means I include our students as well.
As I was telling you in my earlier part of the discussion, that from when we read Abdul Kalam, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's prose, we get really energized, and it is a kind of 14 questions asked by the students when he visits schools, and the answers he was giving, like I already said, like how to find out a role model. And also he tells about the characteristics of a developed country. There people believe that I am the citizen of the developed country and I want my nation to grow. So, that he recommends that for even our country. Don't think ours is a developing country. First have the attitude that you belong to a developed nation, and you make your surrounding perfect. When everyone do that, so that will make our country perfect. So these kind of inputs, and also when we go to Helen Keller's writing, Helen Keller sarcastically says that the eyesight of the person should be taken off at least one day, so that they will realize that what are the advantages they have by having the eyesight. Because
not
she said
having the eyesight.
not having the eyesight. So she says that we never appreciate anything. We take everything for granted. Our hearing skill, our seeing, that is
Visual auditory skills.
all the skills are taken for granted, and we never realize that how they are helping us and what are the things to be seen first. And especially when I teach this to the students, they suddenly get shocked, and then when I am discussing with them, like you spend most of your time in mobile and wasting your eyesight, see a girl who is wishing to see at least for 3 days, they really get shocked, and they also feel like, yes, maybe if I am going to continue to use the mobile for some more days, my eyesight may also get affected, and it is making them to think. And also when Jesse Owens speaks about that is participating in an event, if he says about the Olympic games, but this can be applied to any game or any event in our life. Participation is more important than winning something. So in life, that is trying is more important than achieving something. So when we say that, everyone gets motivated and they feel, yes, at least for next half an hour, a positivity will be like burning in their mind like anything. So these are the advantages that any prose piece can give.
Since you have been mentioning about Jesse Owens,
Yes,
I thought I should ask you to read a passage from my greatest Olympic prize.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Please read the passage that you have brought.
Sure, sir. Students, I am reading for you. Just listen. I supposed that if long one, that is Jesse Owens is a Afro-American, and he comes to participate in the Olympic with the vision of getting the gold medal. And when he sees this Laslong, okay, who is a German, that is crossing his past record of 26.5 feet, okay, in his first lap, he feels he is emotionally disturbed inside, and he thinks these are the things that goes on in his mind. I suppose that if long won, it would add some new support to the Nazis' Aryan superiority theory. So he feels that it is not only the personally I am going to be hurt by his win, but at the time the Aryan superiority theory was in its peak. So he feels that it will encourage that, and many people will also be maybe treated bad, and again Jews will be killed. So he feels for the humanity, he is not self-centered. After all, I am a Negro, a little hot under the collar about Hitler's ways. I determined to go out there and really show therefore and his master race who was superior and who was not. He says that, okay, let me go and perform and prove them that who is superior, whether they are superior just by calling themselves with the race name, or I am the superior person with my performance. This is what the question that is comes in the mind of Jesse Owens, and he further because of that, that is, he is emotionally disturbed. So what happens? He commits foul in his practice leap. So then comes the line: as angry athlete is an athlete who will make mistake, any coach will tell you. I was no exception. So he is also no exception because he is emotionally disturbed inside. On the first of my 3 qualifying jumps, I leaped from several inches beyond the takeoff board for a no jump. On the second jump, I was even worse. And he is asking himself, did I come 3000 miles for this? I thought bitterly to fail in the trials and make a fool of myself. See, he is a champion in that event, that is long jump, but because of the emotional disturbance that is happening inside his mind, he is not able to perform. So this is the best lesson that a prose can teach you. Even you may have a best of abilities, but then if you are not focused, and if you are not concentrating, and if you are not patient enough to pursue your dream, okay, nothing is possible. Okay, so this is the best lesson that you can get from his words. So what again he does? Walking a few yards from the pit, I kicked disgustedly at the ground. Suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to look into the friendly blue eyes of the German long jumper. It's none other than Laslong. I had easily qualified for the finals on his first attempt. He offered me a firm handshake. He said that, okay, please, something is eating up your mind, so you just reduce that emotional outburst in you. So, if you reduce, surely you can make it to the final. So, don't worry about anything, just perform. And this is the incident that has changed the entire thing in his mind, that he was worrying about Hitler, he was worrying about Aryan supremacy theory, and he is worrying about his travel to Germany for participating in the Olympics. So, all those things were worrying him. But then when the same person is coming towards him and comforting him, he is totally changed, and he easily and he takes the advice also, that for that you need the maturity, and he has the maturity and he does that. Jesse Owens, I am Laslang, he says, I don't think we have met. He spoke English well, though with German twist to it. Glad to meet you, I said. Then trying to hide my nervousness, I added, how are you? So, they are having a casual conversation. I am fine, the question is, how are you? So, he is telling, I am not generally asking you how are you, okay, I am just asking you how are you now. Okay, so because he is emotionally disturbed, right? So, he is asking, what do you mean? I asked. Something must be eating you. He said proudly, the way foreigners are when they have mastered a bit of slang. You should be able to qualify with your eyes shut. See the opponent's trust on the other person. Okay, so this is the sportsmanship. The true sportsmanship is you should value, you should respect the talent of even your opponents. So that is what exhibited by Laslang, and this is what the noble quality of Laslang, which has changed the attitude of Jesse Owens and made him to perform better, and finally he wins the gold medal. When Laslang, even though his master, that is Adolf Hitler, stares from the stands, he comes immediately after his the announcement of the result, and he congratulates without even minding that what may be his future, because Adolf Hitler is looking at him and also staring at him, to be more exactly, he is staring at him. I suppose that if long won, it would add some new support to the Nazis' Aryan superiority theory. After all, I am a Negro, a little hot under the collar about Hitler's ways. I determined to go out there and really show, therefore, and his master race who was superior and who was not. An angry athlete is an athlete who will make mistakes. Any coach will tell you. I was no exception. On the first of my 3 qualifying jumps, I leaped from several inches beyond the takeoff board for a no jump. On the second jump, I was even worse. Did I come 3000 miles for this? I thought bitterly. To fail in the trial and make a fool of myself? Walking a few yards from the pit, I kicked disgustedly at the ground. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to look into the friendly blue eyes of the German long jumper. He had easily qualified for the finals on his first attempt. He offered me a firm handshake. Jesse Owens, I am Laslang. I don't think we have met. He spoke English well, though with a German twist to it. Glad to meet you, I said. Then trying to hide my nervousness, I added, how are you? I am fine. The question is, how are you? What do you mean? I asked. Something must be eating you, he said, proud the way the foreigners are when they have mastered a bit of slang. You should be able to qualify with your eyes shut. Believe me, I know it, I told him, and I felt good to say that to someone.
Thank you for such a reading with so much of involvement in that passage.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Do you like to share some other quotations from the prose pieces that you have taught so far?
Yes, sir. I would like to share a few quotations from Give Us a Role Model, and also from Helen Keller's 3 Days to See. I read few of the quotations. This is from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I feel the most important thing was that I always assess my worth by the value of my contribution. The fundamental thing is that you must know that you deserve the good thing of life, the benefit that God bestows. Unless our students and young believe that they are worthy of being citizens of a developed India, how will they ever be responsible and enlightened citizens? Wonderful lines of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And again he speaks about the education. A proper education would help nurture a sense of dignity and self-respect among our youth. These qualities no law can enforce, they have to be nurtured by themselves.
Yeah.
So, it is another memorable quotation from APJ Abdul Kalam. Again he says in another passage, it seems to me that both good and evil will survive side by side. The Almighty does help them both to various degrees. How to minimize the evil through our spiritual growth is a question that has persisted throughout our human history. He has summed up the whole civilization in 3 lines. And this is a quotation from Helen Keller's writing, that is 3 Days to See, where she says that I wish that man should have at least 1 day off from their eyesight.
Okay.
I read that. I have often thought it would be a blessing if each human being were stricken blind and deaf for few days at some time during his early adult life. Darkness would make him more appreciative of sight, silence would teach him the joy of sound.
Natural.
So, these are the few lines I wish to read for the students.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts of teaching prose pieces for your students, and also thank you for sharing your passionate involvement in this positive aspect of teaching prose. Thank you, Dr. Senthil Kumaran, for joining us.
Thank you for the wonderful opportunity, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Welcome.